I smelled that smell.
A smelly smell that smells smelly.
Hello friends, and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest Reddit content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies. Today we are right back into r/NeckbeardStories. God bless it. And today we are visiting Iowabeard, if you couldn't tell from the title. And judging from the length of this video, you could probably guess that we are going to cram the whole thing into it. It is one gigantic story, and it would be doing a disservice to split it up into parts. We have a long way to go, so let's not delay any longer, and we'll jump right into this thing. The Tale of Iowabeard. I made a Reddit account just to post this story. It must be told. I know what you're about to read sounds larger than life and totally unreal. Trust me, I wish it wasn't real. Disclaimer, I do not post this to attack or bully anyone. I merely need to ensure that my story is told. Given that a lot of this happened years ago, not all of the conversations are word for word, but they are being recreated to the best of my ability. Now that that introduction is out of the way, it's time to begin. This is the tale of the worst person I have ever met. Everyone, I introduce you to Iowabeard. I first met Iowabeard when he moved to our hometown in 6th grade. He moved there in the middle of the year. I saw him in the hall wandering around, looking lost and alone, searching for his classes. Something inside me compelled me to help him out. At the time, I felt that this was a simple act of kindness towards someone completely new to the area. Little did I know that this would turn out to be the biggest mistake of my life. I introduced myself to him, and his eyes lit up. I interpreted this as him being happy that somebody was saying hi to him. Looking back, I was very wrong. More on that later. Immediately, he was quite off-putting. Despite being 11 or 12 at the time, he looked like a giant 6-year-old. He was a true baby-faced fella. He was also quite round, with so much face fat that his eyes were nearly eclipsed. No matter what, he would always spike up his hair, and that, combined with his glasses, made him look like Kim Jong-il. The worst part was, he reeked. Absolutely stank up the place. The most pungent body odor imaginable. Not even being masked by any body spray. Not like that would do all too much, but at least it would have been a nice gesture. How you gonna be that stinky at 12 years old? What's this, a glandular problem? He introduces himself in his shaky voice.
Hi, I'm Iowabeard. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
A little odd sounding, sure. Still, what's the use of judging someone that I don't know? Hi, I'm OP, I told him. He smiled widely.
OP. I like that name. I like that name a lot. It's a very nice name.
That made me feel a little uncomfortable. Nevertheless, I decided to show him to his next class. On the way there, he was explaining how he moved from Delaware and was so happy to get out of there. Apparently, every single person there was a
no good filthy bully who sought every day to ruin my life.
Another red flag was slowly rising. It was at that point that I decided that it would be better to just show him to his class and then probably not talk to him again. I brought him to the class. He asked me 3 times if I was in the same one, and each time I told him that I wasn't. He made this over-the-top rage comic style sad face, and then he would ask me again, but in a reworded form. I didn't have time to stay there. I had classes of my own. I had all but forgotten about Iowabeard until English class rolled around. I was happy that I had this class with my boyfriend. Let's call him Nathan. Before you say anything in the comments, yes, I had a boyfriend in 6th grade. I know. You don't know what love is at that age. Dating is for high school or college. And even then, you probably still don't know what real, true love is. I get it. Stick around and read the rest before you say anything like that, okay? Thanks. Anyways, once I sat down next to him, he started telling me about this new kid who he got to know in 2nd period. I had a feeling who he was talking about, and sure enough, I was right. A few minutes later, I smelled that smell.
A smelly smell that smells smelly.
The undeniable smell of Iowabeard. I turned around, and he was standing right behind us.
Ah, Nathan, I see you know OP. She's nice, isn't she?
Nathan smiled. I'd say so. Iowabeard sat next to Nathan, and the two started talking. I let them go. It was nice to see Nathan being kind to someone with no friends. His kind heart is one of the things that I've always liked most about him, though I wasn't a big fan of Iowabeard's smell, which was quickly making me feel nauseous. Iowabeard didn't disappear at lunch either. He sat in between me and Nathan, trying to talk to both of us. I don't remember what the subject was. All I remember is that it made me and Nathan both feel very uncomfortable. We all three had the rest of our classes together, and when we got let out for the day, Iowabeard ran to catch up to us, his body mass jiggling like jello. However, he was quickly dismayed when he saw that his parents were there to pick him up. He threw a small temper tantrum because he couldn't talk to his new friends and dramatically stormed off. Nathan and I didn't live too far away from our middle school, so we always walked back home. On our walk, I asked him why he was hanging out with Iowabeard. He told me that he felt bad for the guy. He was sitting in the back of the class, looking lost and alone. He knew what it was like to be the new guy with no friends, as he had just moved to the state 2 years before. Not wanting this new guy to go through the same thing, he decided to befriend him. While he acknowledged that Iowabeard was an odd guy, he seemed well-meaning and overall harmless. I decided to trust his judgment. Maybe Iowabeard was just socially awkward. Maybe with time he could get some social skills and eventually even learn to shower. Oh, how wrong I was. Day after day, Iowabeard would not leave our sides unless he had to. He stuck to us like glue. I was uncomfortable, but decided to just let it be. After all, he wasn't hurting anybody. We were also learning a lot about him, and that didn't help me like him any better. He was a proponent of admiring the female backside. He loved violent video games to an excessive degree, and was an aspiring writer. Aspiring writer, that's just the most egregious of all, isn't it? One day, Nathan and I offered to read some of his stories and give him some feedback. He proceeded to give us this several pages thick story filled with sexism, racism, and a lot of typos. How can you misspell "the" so many times? It was a headache. When he asked what we thought of it, we decided to sugarcoat it. He ignored any semblance of criticism and went on and on and on about what an amazing author he was and that he was happy to have some new fans. Sure, we were fans, I guess. The rest of the year was like this. I didn't really like Iowabeard, and I voiced this to Nathan, and he agreed, but still, Nathan wanted to stay friends with Iowabeard because he wanted to help him out. Over time, he had developed a reputation at the school. He was often seen staring at girls' butts and would have these legendary temper tantrums when he got bad grades, which happened a ton. In fact, he barely passed the 6th grade. It turns out his bad typing skills weren't just for his stories. His reports were a mess. When we would trade our essays for peer review in English class, whoever got his basically ended up dousing it in red ink. Most of the time he would storm over to them and give them an earful. Basically, he would accuse them of being bullies who didn't know how to identify quality work. The only times he didn't go on the attack were when either Nathan or myself edited his essays. He'd only look at us and say, "Thank you," and ignore what we had to say. He would end up getting something like a C- or a D+ at best. He even told us that he barely passed the 6th grade. Yikes. That summer, Iowabeard would stop by Nathan's house, sometimes uninvited. He would justify these unannounced visits by saying, "That's just how people do it in Delaware." I'm not so sure that's true. Could any of my Delaware readers confirm this? Besides, I thought he said that everyone there was a bully. When Nathan and I would talk, he would always have some kind of crazy story about Iowabeard. Some of the ones I remember are how when the two were playing Smash Brothers, Iowabeard would never hit any of the female fighters because it's rude to hit a lady. And he would get mad when the computer randomly picked a female fighter, to the point where Nathan had to start the battle over until it was an all-male roster. Jesus. He would ask Nathan who his favorite big bottoms were. Nathan never answered that, which made Iowabeard fairly upset. However, this did not stop him from going on and on about some of the TV or movie characters that he liked the butts of. One time he was over at Nathan's house for dinner. Nathan's mom made spaghetti, and Iowabeard said that he could
tell the noodles were low quality because of how easy they were to cut.
Needless to say, it was quite a while before Iowabeard was invited back to Nathan's house for dinner. I wasn't without my summer Iowabeard encounters either. Whatever few times we happened to bump into each other, he would constantly ask for my phone number. When I declined over and over, he would latch on to me, not leaving until I left myself. This even happened when Nathan and I were going to the movie theater or the local retro arcade. The guy would just never leave us alone. 7th grade was more of the same. There isn't much of a cohesive tale with this, but I will share some amusing anecdotes. Iowabeard showed up to lunch one day with a big red 3-ring binder, and he told us this was his super bottom collection. Inside were pictures of characters like Bessie from Back at the Barnyard, Anna Marie from Total Drama, or the sister from Paranorman, all of which I had to look up because I'm old. Page after page of pictures of his beloved super bottoms. I was very disgusted. I, being a girl, did not take too kindly to this guy being so open to objectifying women in front of me. Nathan was likewise uncomfortable. Despite how many times we would tell him that we were uncomfortable, he kept describing his favorite super bottoms and what qualities of their butts he liked best. Even the two of us telling him that this is unbelievably creepy would not deter him. Sure enough, word of his infamous super bottom binder spread, and people began to make fun of him for it. As if that wasn't bad enough, he would always have the worst replies. This one actually happened. Some guy shouted to him, "Hey Iowabeard, have a nice jerk-off session to Gloria the Hippo?" Iowabeard shouted back,
"It wasn't Gloria, it was Fleur Delacour."
Fleur Delacour from, like, Harry Potter? I don't know if she has that super of a bottom. But who am I to judge? Anyways, one day, Iowabeard tried to challenge our math teacher to a debate to prove that the math teacher had only given him an F on a recent test because he was trying to bully him. Not even getting detention stopped him from going on his rant. His smell was also getting worse, but at least this was the age where he discovered Axe body spray. Now he smelled like a walking dumpster covered in a gallon of chemicals. Charming. Truly charming. He tried out for both the school musical and the football team, but didn't make it on either. Apparently both of these groups had paid off the people in charge to not let him join because they were
too scared of his power and might.
Well, that's what he told us. And everyone who would listen, that is. We have to believe him. It's the only thing that makes sense. What? Do you actually think that this increasingly rotund, tone-deaf, emotionally unbalanced, arrogant, socially awkward, touchy-feely stinky boy was unqualified to be given a spot? That's impossible! Nathan went over to Iowabeard's house for the first time. He met his parents who, as it turns out, ran a tight ship. When Iowabeard told them about the trouble he'd gotten into that day, a big fight broke out, which Iowabeard had apparently kept escalating when his parents were trying to wait until they no longer had company. Nathan also met Iowabeard's older brother, who was actually the total opposite. He was kind, well-groomed, and didn't make awkward comments about women's butts every 10 minutes. Because of the stories above, Nathan was starting to want to distance himself from Iowabeard. Duh. Frankly, I felt that this was a dream come true. Iowabeard was becoming more aggressive in his attempts to attract a super bottom. He also had a new target. Me. See, I'll be the first one to admit that my rear end is on the bigger side. Luckily, I haven't struggled with body issues a ton. I have, for the most part, been relatively comfortable with who I am and how I look. However, the closest I've gotten to feeling bad about my body was when Iowabeard started making his advances toward the end of 7th grade. He had taken a particular interest in my butt, calling me things like his booty queen, or saying that I was rumpalicious. This bothered me a lot, but he remained undeterred. After all,
it's good to appreciate a woman's features, especially when she's been given such a gift.
Whenever I would tell teachers about this, the little demon would just proudly own up to it. unable to grasp how I could possibly have a problem with any of this. Needless to say, many detentions were given to him. Around the start of 8th grade, Iowabeard was now finally ready to confess his feelings for me, which he did, in a crowded hallway, and while Nathan was standing right next to me. I didn't have time to reject him, because Nathan stepped right in to tell Iowabeard that we were dating. He didn't believe him. It took me having to confirm this to finally get him to understand. He then accused me of leading him on, despite the fact that not only was the fact I was taken extremely obvious, but we had also told him that we were dating many, many times. I guess he chose to ignore that, or has memory issues. Iowabeard wasn't done yet. He exploded at Nathan, accusing him of stealing his queen from him. After all, he liked me first. I remind you that Nathan and I had been together since before Iowabeard even came to the state, let alone the school. A teacher told him to calm down or he'd get detention, and he blew up at this teacher and proceeded to summarize his version of what happened. This backfired, obviously, causing him to get another detention. He stormed off while declaring him and Nathan mortal enemies, and that their war would not end until he had won OP over. That year, we had an English class with this amazing teacher. Let's call him Mr. Williams, because he sounded and acted a lot like Robin Williams. This guy was great. He was one of those teachers that lived for his job, so he was extra motivated to make sure that every student succeeded. That, and he said time and time again, that he knew some people in this class had a passion for reading and or writing, so it was up to him to encourage those people to pursue their goals. Everyone loved Mr. Williams. Everyone except Iowabeard. Apparently over that summer he had taken to writing fan fiction. He'd never posted it anywhere, but he had a lot of it on file. He wrote a fair few stories and had printed them all off, constantly bragging that he was going to get them published and become the most famous fan fiction author in the world. That's not how it works, and that's also breaking a ton of copyright laws, but whatever. Anyways, he gave one to Mr. Williams early on in the school year, asking him what he thought of one of his finest masterpieces. I wasn't there to prove it, but as Iowabeard himself said, Mr. Williams attacked his writing. So Iowabeard lashed out to defend himself. Really, knowing Mr. Williams, what probably actually happened was that he had a few suggestions on how to fix the spelling and grammar, and Iowabeard just didn't take it well. That's how I see it. From that day forward, Mr. Williams became the next addition to Iowabeard's enemy list. He would badmouth Mr. Williams in front of anybody he saw, accusing him of academic harassment. He also would crank his bad grade tantrums up to 11 with Mr. Williams, likely believing that he was going through some kind of impressive anime transformation while he was doing it. Mr. Williams, being the saint that he was, offered Iowabeard after-school help on his writing, which his parents forced him to attend. It didn't make much of a difference, though. He still basically wrote gibberish. The flirting increased, too. Time and time again, he would walk in between me and Nathan, openly admitting to trying to split us up. Only he would describe it as saving you from this unfitting and abusive relationship. Fear not, you'll be with your true man soon. Every time he said something like this, I held back vomit, while Nathan stared daggers at Iowabeard. Periodically, he would just thrust these fanfictions into mine or Nathan's laps. To me, these were apparently weapons of mass seduction that were to be used to win over his future bride. To Nathan, these were threats being used as a way to intimidate Nathan because he was going up against such a talented writer. Surprisingly, these epic tales never succeeded in their primary purposes. And now we get to 9th grade. This was the point where things got really, really bad. Iowabeard began getting super interested in sexuality. More so than usual, that is. Maybe it was to cope with his brother enlisting in the Navy. Maybe it was because Mr. Williams got a job as the 9th grade English teacher, and Iowabeard was forced to handle his academic abuse yet again. Don't know, don't care. But he started getting dangerous. While I remained his booty queen or super bottom of choice, he still lusted after every girl in our grade, growing increasingly obvious with his staring and drooling. He even reached out to touch them sometimes, which never ended well for poor Iowabeard. that wasn't the only major development. You know those fanfictions he wrote? Well, now he started publishing them for all to see. That's right. Now the whole world could go onto the web and see all of Iowabeard's craziness on full display. At first, they were horrible, but somewhat readable. As time went on, however, more and more people found his fanfiction account and began to give his stories negative reviews. The main criticisms were horrible spelling, being unfaithful to the source material, having a super boring writing style, and being sexist or racist or homophobic, etc., and also having egregious spelling. All this obviously did not sit well with Iowabeard. He accused Nathan of
sending an army of trolls and bullies and haters to his fanfiction page.
Naturally, Nathan just laughed this off, so Iowabeard decided to tell the whole school about this, which only caused more people to find out about his laughable stories, which then made him angrier, rinse and repeat, several times over. Perhaps the worst consequence of this was that Nathan, the very person that these stories were supposed to intimidate, was unable to stop reading them. The very day one was posted, he would call me up and give me a dramatic reading of his own. I never found them too funny, but it was nice to hear him having fun. Besides, he's got a cute laugh. Things got super out of hand when some YouTubers got a hold of these fanfictions and started doing dramatic readings of them, typos and all. This caused Iowabeard to snap, vowing revenge on these people. So he decided to write them into stories as villains, and they would systematically be killed off. I only know this because of those readings that Nathan would give me. When an overweight, sex-starved maniac with a god complex who goes to your school writes stories about killing YouTubers, that tends to stick with you. Oh, you can't make it up. God. Once again, these threats did not have any effect. The YouTubers in the fanfictions obviously didn't notice, and to him this must be an indication that he could put whoever he wanted into these stories with no consequences. I think you all know where this is going. Iowabeard did a lot of one-shot fanfictions, rarely ever writing one with the second chapter. However, he did have one lingering story on his page. It was the ongoing saga of Batman, and Iowabeard's self-insert, who would go around Gotham City, often misspelled Gotham City. I love it. Killing the various assortment of baddies that were either in the comics or were Iowabeard's own creations. These were all the standard self-insert fare. The self-insert was the smartest, strongest, most skilled, and most intelligent guy around, while everyone else was basically a bumbling idiot who basically worshipped the ground that the self-insert walked on. Nathan seemed to like these the most, as they were basically Iowabeard's literary masturbation. However, they wouldn't always be funny. One time, he was reading one of the fanfictions to me over the phone, and then he went dead silent. I asked him what was wrong, and what he said next caused me to freeze. That psycho wrote you into the story. No, that can't be right. He wouldn't, I thought to myself. How foolish I was. He could, and did. There was a character with my name, had my physical description down to the tiniest detail, and that character was in an abusive relationship with a boy named Nathan who beat her day in and day out. I was mortified. He wrote me as a living sex doll. Not 10 sentences could go by without some character or the narrator talking about my butt or how Iowabeard's OC and I were destined for each other. Keep in mind, this wasn't something he sent me. Oh no. This was on the internet. The very visible internet. People were seeing this. Likely people we knew. Luckily, those who reviewed it were not too kind, so at least there's that. And of course, it didn't stop there. He was also writing the Super Smash Bros. Fanfiction that was supposed to be the longest in history. And he succeeded with this, but only by spamming the phrase, "Praise Jesus," for over 100 chapters. What? Back to the point, he wrote me in again. This time as Peach, still making constant references to my butt, and how Iowabeard's self-insert was hoping to marry me by giving me married butt love. Oh, I don't even know what that means. I had it with him. Luckily, by the time he posted that, sophomore year was about to start, so I only had to wait until then to confront him. A few days before school started, he posted one of his English papers as a fan fiction, using it to attack Mr. Williams on a public website. Few people read it, and nobody sided with him. I guess he did this to celebrate that he would no longer have Mr. Williams as a teacher or something. His motives remain unclear to this very day. When confronted about what he did, he remained unapologetic. To him, it was a great honor to be written up in one of his stories, let alone multiple stories. I bothered him about it for days, and he said that he wouldn't give up. Finally, after school one day, while he was waiting to be picked up, I cornered him, and I said something along the lines of this. "Listen here, you fat, smelly slug. If you don't stop writing me and Nathan into your stories, I'm going to make you miserable. I know your parents don't know what you say about me or what you write, and I can easily show them. So get it through your head already. I don't love you. I don't even like you. I love Nathan, and I want nothing to do with you or your fetish-fueled garbage." He looked like he was about to cry, but I showed no pity. Normally, I'm that sweet girl who wouldn't hurt a fly, but this time it was different. Iowabeard had pushed me too far. I had to act. I had to stop him. Yes, I know. I should have told my parents, or his parents, or somebody about what he was writing. Simply put, I was young and stupid. I felt like I could have handled it on my own. I felt like I was strong enough to withstand the storm of Iowabeard's advances. Now I know different, but more on that later. Turns out, my threat worked. The next Batman story he posted, I was unceremoniously written out with little fanfare. Good. It was an anticlimactic way for my character to leave, but I'm okay with that. I don't think anybody would have been at all upset, honestly. That would require people actually liking his work. Around November, Iowabeard would get into some serious trouble. There's this one girl, let's call her Heather. Heather and I are decent enough friends, but not too close. Well, I guess she made it onto Iowabeard's must-have butts, because he straight up squeezed her butt in between classes. I wasn't there to see it, but word traveled around the school like wildfire. Iowabeard was suspended, and if what I heard is true, he was also threatened with Heather pressing charges, which she ultimately didn't do. I want to know if this is true or not, but Heather doesn't ever want to talk about that again, so I'll respect her boundaries. People began branding Iowabeard as a bad guy after that. That's what it takes. I guess that's fair. Up until that point, he was just like, kind of weird. But there's no coming back from sexual assault. Lock him up with the nonsense. Nobody would get anywhere near Iowabeard, and not just because of his rank odor this time. As per usual, Iowabeard was not having any of this. He decided to prove to everyone that he was a good person. No, not a good person. A great person. The best person. A person so good that it would make Mother Teresa look like Hitler. And how was he going to accomplish all of this? With his fan fiction, of course. Of course! He started inserting morals into his stories. And when I say morals, I use that in the loosest of terms. What he would do is either insert a generic and bland educational moment, or bend the story to shape his hateful and uncompromising worldview. Now, I myself am a Christian, and I've been one my whole life. Well, so is Nathan, and so is Iowabeard. But what sets our beliefs apart is that we don't believe that everyone that doesn't abide by our faith is evil. And yes, that's what Iowabeard would preach most of the time. He even made a story about the Peanuts gang trying to stop the spirit of atheism from taking over their town. Huh? Oh, God. Needless to say, this only made him look like a worse person. Especially because by now, a fair few of our class members were reading Iowabeard stories to make fun of them. Everyone always knew he was messed up, and this didn't help in the slightest. There was now irrefutable evidence of what he believed. As if people didn't want to get close to him by now. Oh boy, you'd think this guy was made of toxic waste. Then it happened. Something inside of him snapped. No, he didn't run around the school trying to kill anybody. Something far more unexpected happened. Once again, I am not making this up. This actually happened. Iowabeard was convinced that he was a prophet of God. He read that right. Iowabeard had a dream that God himself had told him to write this fan fiction, as it would bring people to him. In return, he would be made a king on earth and a nobleman in heaven, all while having any woman of his choice as his queen. Sure, whatever. We all have crazy dreams. Not generally this crazy. I once had a dream where I was pulling around with the cast of Friends in Antarctica, but this guy thought that this was a legitimate calling from the Lord. Want to know how I know? He began telling everyone. I was one of the first, as he would obviously need to inform me that I would be chosen as his queen, so I should leave Nathan before I had to suffer the heartbreak of seeing him die from some kind of heavenly attack. Naturally, everyone told him that he was absolutely insane. His response? He promised to tell God about what they were saying, so that they would be cured from their blasphemy. I'm not joking. This is the kind of stuff that only Chris Chan was supposed to be capable of believing. His parents, finally seeing that their son was losing what little mind he had, decided to take him to therapy. I don't know why they didn't do this sooner. Oh well, beggars can't be choosers. During this time, Iowabeard's fanfictions became even a little bit more unstable. I guess having to go to some shrink every week and constantly hearing this blasphemy again and again was just too much for him. It all came to a breaking point when he ended up stealing someone's story, claiming it as his own. Want to know how I know this? Well, for one thing, all of the reviews of that story were slammed with people accusing him of stealing it from somebody else. Also, when Nathan asked him about it, Iowabeard completely confessed. Not only that, but he was proud of it. But that's not all. He then followed up with this little gem.
Yeah, that original author was trying to expose me and stop my holy work, so I had to fight back. Nobody attacks a soldier of God like that. I knew what I had to do.
He didn't kill the author. Instead, he threatened to dox him. For those who don't know, doxing is releasing someone's private information, full name, address, etc. on the internet for all to see, usually followed up by less than desirable things. I don't know how Iowabeard got this information. All I know is that he had it and was completely unafraid to use it. He also admitted to sending some of it to the original author to prove that he wasn't bluffing. So that author left the website. Forever. I don't know if he deleted his entire account, simply wiped all his stories, or what. All I know is that Iowabeard ruined this guy's entire account and threatened his well-being. Nathan and I were done. Double done. Absolutely done. How dare he do something like this? That's like a burglar breaking into somebody's house, cutting himself on the glass as he broke through the window, and suing the people who own the house, and then winning. We were gonna tell his parents, and maybe even the school about what he did. However, we didn't have to. I guess someone else must have told Iowabeard's heroic story of blackmail and theft, because his parents found out exactly what happened. School was almost out by this point, so they let him stay. Don't think he didn't go unpunished, though. He absolutely was. I'm not sure what specific things happened in his home life. That's none of my business. What I do know is that he was forced into intense psychiatric treatment effective immediately. Honestly, it was about time. More than about time. Over the summer, his original fanfiction account was terminated. Why? Take your guess. His stories were all racist, sexist, homophobic, plagiarized, and/or threatened violence. I'm sure all of those are against the rules. I don't know how he took this. I was just happy that he was getting the help that he needed. No longer would he claim to be a soldier of God. No longer would he write sleazy stories about people that he either hated or lusted for. No longer would he attack people like YouTubers or critics who were merely offering basic writing instructions. If all went well, he would be a functioning member of society again. All didn't go well. He was fine for a while. He even made a second fanfiction account, apparently even making sure that he conducted himself in a normal way. Nathan and I kept reading the stories, not because we enjoyed them, as all the drama with him made Nathan lose whatever enjoyment he had left in them. Now we were just making sure that we weren't being written into them again. By November, things went right back to the way they were. He went back to his new and improved Super Bottom collection, which he was still very fond of showing everyone. This time nobody was willing to put up with it. Most people gave him a piece of their mind, which, as I'm sure you can guess, he did not like. seeing everyone betray him like this seemed to make his mental state continue to wither. While he didn't have any delusions of godhood anymore, his fuse somehow got even shorter. Now, almost anything would cause him to blow up. If you talk bad about one of his super bottoms or one of his stories, it's over. Total meltdown. I guess he's had enough with me daring to say that I don't love him. Why do I say that? Well, he made a Twitter and a Reddit for the sole purpose of asking people how to break me and Nathan up so that he could swoop in, thereby taking
what's rightfully his.
I've seen screenshots of his posts. They're horrifying and borderline threatening. Nathan and I knew that we had no other choice. We were going to get a restraining order. When Iowabeard's family heard about this, they freaked out. Not at us, but at Iowabeard. The restraining order would cause them to move houses, which they were not willing to do. They begged with us to reconsider, and we agreed to do so because we wanted to punish Iowabeard, not his parents. Iowabeard was also very, very insistent on not getting restrained. What we decided to do was give him a 2-week trial period where he would send us a handwritten apology and be on his best behavior. Sure enough, he didn't talk to us for those 2 weeks, making sure that he was on his best behavior, and as a result, we decided to waive the order. This proved to be a mistake. The minute that we told him that we would not be getting the restraining order, but keeping a close eye on him the whole time, he went right back to his old ways. He's still posting about us on Twitter and Reddit, and they're still vaguely threatening. As I'm writing this, we're meeting with our lawyer again to reopen the restraining order. Unfortunately, for now, this is where the story ends. Iowabeard is still out there, writing fanfiction to this very day, and still lusting over the super bottoms. This guy is a menace to society, but at least he won't be bothering us anymore. We're gonna put a stop to this right now. Why am I posting this? Well, for one, to let my story be heard. I wanted to make sure that my experiences were well documented. Not only that, but I also wanted to do a little teaching of my own. Everyone out there, if you meet someone like Iowabeard, do not hesitate to put a stop to them. Tell someone, make a fuss, do not accept this. Nobody has the right to treat you like this regardless of who they are or where they come from. If you don't stop it, you too may fall victim to an Iowabeard. TLDR, crazy guy writes fanfictions of me and my boyfriend so we get a restraining order. Update, thank you all so much for the support, and you extra lovely people who gave me all those lovely awards. I feel like enough has happened to give you an update. Yes, a lot of people ended up finding Iowabeard's Reddit and Twitter and other things, and thanks to that I've been able to document even more of his crazy antics. And oh boy, there are a lot of them. It's clear that he's seen the story, as he's been complaining about it on any subreddit he can get his hands on. Not only that, but due to his anger, he ended up doxing himself, me, Nathan, Heather, and even a girl who wasn't even involved in any of this. The restraining order is going to happen. We do not feel safe with him, and with all the evidence we have against him, I have zero doubt that we'll get it. We also have shown his parents screenshots of almost every post on his many social medias that he uses. Pages and pages worth. To say that they were heartbroken is an understatement. If you're a parent who adopted a child, gave them everything they needed to have a good life, ultimately to see public posts where he calls you abusive and that he wishes he wasn't a part of your family, how would you feel? Things are really falling apart for Iowabeard, and sadly, I don't see any signs of improvement. Things can only get worse from here. Those who have found him are trying to make him the next Chris-chan. I'm not for that in the slightest. I want Iowabeard to get the help that he needs. I'm sure his parents are working on a plan now, and despite all evidence, I refuse to believe that he's too far gone. In time, maybe, just maybe, everything will be okay for poor Iowabeard. Oh, what a beefy story that was. Dang, oh. I don't know where to start or where to begin, man. OP did have a lot of good points, especially there at the end. If you find yourself in this situation, always tell somebody. You know, there's no reason that you have to put up with it, even if you feel bad for somebody. Quite possibly you might be feeding into their delusions and not helping the problem get any better. I also believe that Iowabeard will probably turn himself around. I mean, delusions of godhood are a pretty big sign of some sort of mental illness, so maybe if he gets on some medications, then who knows how things could go. In 4 or 5 years' time, you might see him working at the local Subway. Which might not seem like it amounts to much, but considering the other way that things could have gone, I'll take it, you know? This whole story is just such a mess. I don't know what the deal is with the SUPERBOTTOMS. I guess that's an original word, because when I Google things about SUPERBOTTOMS, it's like this Indian diaper or gay people stuff. So maybe he's got some latent homosexuality that he needs to deal with as well. Maybe he's repressing it because he's a Christian. Maybe the fan fiction is like a good release for him, but he just shouldn't be posting things like that publicly. I don't know. I ain't no psychologist. And well, it's all well and good to have a laugh at somebody who's absolutely off their nuts. I also, you know, in the end do feel kind of bad for him. All the way up until the point where he sexually assaulted a girl, and then it's like, okay, well, maybe you do deserve some jail time or something. And then once you get locked up in jail, Iowabeard, you get to be a super bottom. They're gonna love to have a fat little squishy boy like you in there. Honestly, I do think things will turn around for him. I would like to dig up his Twitter and Reddit and see how all that's going. And we might in another video, but I also don't want to turn this into like a witch hunt or anything like that. We had our laugh, you know, just let the guy grow up and away from this. So that's going to be about it for me, friends. This is definitely a huge video, but I do hope that you enjoyed it and it was worth the wait. Like I said, it's not daily Reddit content anymore, but the videos are beefier, so you could split it up over 2 days and then it'll feel like daily content, something like that. Anyways, I hope you like, comment, and or subscribe. If you did enjoy the video, check out the links in the description. Twitter, Discord, my other channel, also Patreon, and a big shout out to my beautiful patrons. We got Just Austin, Robert Waits, Dot Nathan, Crimson Albedo, Lady Nix, Radam Cisco, Damon Darkstar is back again, what, and Nico the Legend. I definitely appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and helping me to live the dream. Even if you just listen this far, even if you can't support monetarily right now, I appreciate you just for hanging out. So I hope you hang out with me in the next one. I think we're about due for some entitled parents now, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Take care of yourselves out there. Do not forget to wear your masks. Do not forget to wash your hands, because you are valued, you are loved, and you definitely deserve it. So I will see you in the next one, friends, and until then, bye-bye.